You're probably watching this video because you're running a Google Ads campaign right now that's not generating leads, and you spent a lot of time into the setup and a lot of effort into learning everything you needed to know, but now it's just not generating leads. And in this video, I'm gonna uncover some of the most common reasons why your Google Ads PPC campaign is not generating leads and how to go ahead and fix that. One of the most common reasons for having a poor performing Google Ads lead generation campaign is having a restricted budget. Now, budget is one of the most common reasons for poor performance because many people want to spend as little as possible on their ads to maximize their return, and I completely understand it. But a restrictive budget can hurt you in the long run. And the way that I like to describe it with my clients is it's kind of like driving a car with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake every few seconds. Like eventually you might get somewhere, but you're not really going to go very far and you're not going to progress. So it's really important to make sure that you're funding enough budget in order to collect data. Because when it comes to running a Google Ads campaign in the beginning, if you're brand new to it, it's really about buying data, collecting data, and then making smart decisions based off of what's coming in. Now, if your bid is significantly higher than your daily budget, there's really no way that you're going to get anywhere within Google Ads. So let's say if your bid is $5, but your daily budget is $4, you're not going to get anywhere. It's going to be really challenging to see any type of results. So it's really important to make sure you're funding enough in your campaign, and a metric that you can look at within Google Ads that will give you a clue on if you are being restricted by budget is to look at something called search impression share loss to budget. And this is a column that you can be pulling in within Google Ads that will share with you the percentage of the time that you were not able to show your ad because of your restricted budget. So that's one of the tips that I have for you in order to see if you need to increase your budget. And then on top of that, Google has notifications within the actual account itself next to the campaign that will show you campaign is limited by budget, and that will also be able to give you a clue on potentially increasing your budget to get more clicks and then ultimately to get more leads. Another common reason for why your Google Ads lead generation campaign might not be performing that well is because your conversion tracking was not set up correctly. Now, this is a very common mistake that a lot of advertisers make, and it's just forgetting to double check conversion tracking. Your ads might be performing great, but your ad tracking is probably telling a different story. Now, with conversion tracking, it allows you to accurately measure the effectiveness of your Google Ads campaign, and it can track actions that people take like phone calls, form submissions, ebook downloads, and whatever conversions you want to count. But the challenge is a lot of people tend to not know how to actually set up the conversion tracking properly on the thank you page or on the form. So it's really important to follow the instructions that Google provides and also QA to test and make sure that the conversion tracking is set up properly. There is a tag helper that you can download that's a Chrome extension that you can actually use to test and make sure that your conversion tracking is firing correctly, and you'll be able to see that it's actually counting correctly. Because what I've actually seen, it's a very common mistake, is people will track the clicks onto the actual landing page, but not the actual conversions of people submitting the form. So then the number looks higher on the front end, but then in reality, the number of leads is actually much lower. So make sure to keep that in mind. And then also make sure, if you don't want to double count form submissions or phone calls, that you only count one conversion, not every conversion. That's a setting within Google Ads. Another reason why your pay-per-click campaigns might not be converting as well as you'd like it to is because your landing pages are not optimized. Now, when you run a pay-per-click campaign, the journey doesn't stop just after someone clicks on the ad. You need to focus on persuading the user after they click on the ad on your landing page. So you need to make sure that you're following best practices. And I already put together a video on landing page best practices, and I'll go ahead and link it after this video and also in the description below. But essentially, you want to make sure that you're including keywords in your landing pages. You want to make sure you have calls to actions, that your form is the right size, and all these different things in order to convince the user to to take the next step to become a lead. Another reason why your lead generation campaigns may not be producing leads right now is because you haven't given it enough time. Now, I know that it's really hard to be patient, especially if you are investing money into your campaign, but you also have to remember that when you set up your campaigns, you launch it, typically it takes Google about 1 business day to review the ads. It goes through that approval process, and then depending on what type of bid strategy you use, it can take a week up to 10-15 days to really continue with the learning process. So that's called the learning phase of the campaign. And then from there, it's just a matter of collecting data and then adjusting based off of whatever information that you're getting in the campaign. So sometimes it can be more time, sometimes it could be less time. It just really depends on the competition. It depends on how many changes you're making. The more changes that you make in the account, the more confusion that it can create with the algorithm, and that can actually tend to cause a lot of confusion and slow down your learning process. So what I like to tell my clients is that time plus data plus patience equals pay-per-click marketing success. And in order to properly measure success, a campaign should really be running 2 to 3 months. So that's about 60 to 90 days to get really dialed in and see the best possible results. And I know that's also going to depend on seasonality. So if you're launching in Q4 of the year, typically in business to business lead generation and even some business to consumer lead generation, businesses will tend to see a decrease in leads during that time because of the holidays and other factors. So I just want to remind you that new campaigns do take time to gather enough data, and your quality score will also improve over time too, or drop over time depending on what's actually happening in your account. So just be patient with things, especially if you've checked your campaign and everything else that I have discussed in this video is already hitting the mark and you're already doing everything that I talked about in terms of best practices and everything else is checked off, then it's just probably a matter of time before you start seeing more data come in and ultimately more results. And finally, another reason why your Google Ads pay-per-click lead generation campaign might not be performing well is maybe because your business is not suitable for pay-per-click marketing. I've been in this industry for the last 10 years and I've managed hundreds of different accounts, and there's been many different types of businesses where pay-per-click doesn't really hit the mark because it doesn't really make sense to be doing it. Now, when it comes to seeing if it really makes sense to do pay-per-click marketing or not, you need to consider something called a customer lifetime value. And what that is, it's the total amount that a customer is expected to spend on your business during your entire relationship. So essentially this could be multiple transactions or a single one, but you really want to make sure that your customer lifetime value is higher than the cost to acquire that customer. So that's probably why you don't really see donut shops, barber shops, nail salons, and so forth doing pay-per-click marketing, because their transaction value and customer lifetime value is more on the low side depending on the type of business that I'm talking about. But if they're charging too little, it's going to take a really long time to start even breaking even and start breaking a profit. So my typical recommendation is that your customer lifetime value should be at least in the $500 range or more, ideally a lot more, to really be suitable for pay-per-click. And then you also need to consider your average cost per click, because if it's costing you $100 a click, but then your customer lifetime value is $500, every 5 clicks, if you can't expect to turn at least 1 in 5 clicks or 3 clicks or 2 clicks and pretty much having a really high conversion rate and turning those into actual sales, then it's going to be really hard for you to really even see any type of profits coming from your campaign. Ultimately, there's a lot of factors at play into the success of a pay-per-click lead generation campaign. Now, if you found this video helpful, I would love if you could give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to this channel. I post videos every week on Google Ads pay-per-click lead generation, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.